All right, so for this assignment, you are creating a life-size food item out of Sculpey clay. So I've got mine here. And this is clay that's based from wax and plastic, and when you bake it, turns into kind of a hard, rubbery plastic. And you just get to bake it in your oven. So I'm gonna be making a little Milano cookie, because I have those here. So I have my picture and my real food to work from. If you are making a bigger food, if you are making something like cake, a sandwich, banana, some sort of fruit, you can always use wire and aluminum foil, because those can go in the oven with the Sculpey clay and not burn up. But mine's pretty small. It doesn't really matter how big your food is. If you're doing something tiny for your assignment, I would suggest doing a couple of them. So if I were to finish this project, I would probably do 2 or 3 cookies, depending on my time management. So first off, I have kneaded and just worked with this clay until it's really nice and warm and soft in my hands and doesn't look like just the strips anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and start rolling it out to the shape and size that I want. If you have rolling pins at home or a cup, you could always use that to roll on it, but mine's gonna be flat on one side, so I'm not too worried about it. So that looks, if I'm looking at my cookie, fairly similar. They're very nice and flat. And then I noticed that all of my cookies have this kind of bump on them where the batter was dropped. So I want to figure out how to make that. And I'm going to use a clay tool that I have here. This one, okay. And I'm gonna start pushing up over here to make my little bumpy area. If it's easier, we'll see if it is. You can always add a tiny bit on top too. So I could take this. And add that up top. And just make sure I'm smoothing it really well. So I'm just taking my time. I go really slow with this to make sure it's exactly how I want it. Make sure it's as realistic as I can possibly get it. So I'm smoothing all my edges, making things disappear. All right, that looks fairly correct, except that it's really smooth and I need a texture. So to get kind of that texture of the dough, I'm actually just gonna use a towel and press all over my cookie to get that kind of baked texture. And that's looking pretty good. I want to make sure none of it is smooth looking, because that's not how a cookie looks. It's got crumb. All right, that looks pretty good. So I need to kind of scrape it off the table a little bit. And then for my interior, there's chocolate in the middle. So I am just gonna flatten out some clay. And actually use that in my middle as my chocolate. Luckily, it doesn't matter how pretty it looks on the inside, just on the edges, because you won't see the inside. But I definitely want to keep that nice edge there. Make sure that it still looks pretty good. So then I'm going to make my next cookie. And I'm going to repeat the process exactly the same way that I just did. Kneading the clay, working with it until it's nice and warm. The good thing about Sculpey is it won't dry out, so if it ends up getting a little stiff and harder than it was, it's just because it's gotten cold and you just need to warm it up by working it in your hands. I think I need a little more still. Seems better. It's pretty close. And then again with the towel. And then peel it off, set it down. That's when I would start working at like smoothing over here, or if I've smoothed too much, I can make the line again. Okay. So I have made my little cookie sandwich. I would probably spend a little more time perfecting this, making sure the texture is right on all sides. But for the purpose of this video, I will not be a perfectionist and I will let it go. And then I would make another 2 maybe of this. You bake them in the oven at 275. It's in the Canvas assignment for around 10 minutes, and when it comes out, you would paint it to make it look as realistic as you possibly could. All right, good luck.